Never shall innocent blood be shed. Yet the blood of the wicked shall flow like a river. The three shall spread their blackened wings and be the vengeful striking hammer of God. You people have been chosen to reveal our existence to the world. You will witness what happens here today, and you will tell of it later. All eyes to the front. You must watch, dear. It'll all be over soon.
Now you will receive us. We do not ask for your poor or your hungry. We do not want your tired and sick.
It is your corrupt we claim.
It is your evil that will be sought by us.
With every breath, we shall hunt them down.
Each day, we will spill their blood till it rains down from the skies.
Do not kill, do not rape, do not steal. These are principles which every man of every faith can embrace.
These are not polite suggestions. These are codes of behavior. And those of you that ignore them will pay the dearest cost.
There are varying degrees of evil. We urge you lesser forms of filth, not to push the bounds and cross over into true corruption, into our domain.
For if you do, one day you will look behind you and you will see we three. And on that day, you will reap it.
And we will send you to whatever God you wish.
And shepherds we shall be, for thee, my Lord, for thee. Power hath descended forth from thy hand. May swiftly carry out thy command. So we shall flow ever forth to thee, and teeming with souls shall it ever be.
In nomine Patri.
Et Filii, Spiritus Sancti.
How far are we going to take this star?
The question is not how far. The question is, do you possess the Constitution? The depth of faith to go as far as is needed?
Good evening, gentlemen.
Hello.
You guys,
How are you two brothers doing?
another day. Just another day.
My day off. It's been snowing all day. Yeah. I didn't have to go
Not
anywhere,
quiet.
so I guess it's good.
That's a quiet and peaceful day in North Dakota.
Yeah.
So, you guys just want to jump right into it? Go for it.
Oh, lead
So
us into the topic very gently.
No, I need to
Is
go
this me,
gentle on you guys.
myself, and Irene, or is this us, you, us, and ourselves?
Well, Nick, that's actually a good question because it is us versus ourselves. I won't bury the lead on you guys. At the end of the day, we allowed this to happen. Everything that's happening, we allowed. In fact, in many cases, we encouraged it. We were talking before the show, and Steve pointed it out that, and we'll get into this as the show goes on, I'm sure. But Steve pointed out that we encouraged by electing people who they kind of agreed with the idea that we should just sell our future for short-term gain. And there were people who said, don't do this, you'll regret it later. And everyone was like, we don't care. We get cheap trinkets now.
Since we are red pill guys, let me bring this into perspective. We are our own worst enemy. Now, let me ask you a question. Who is a simp's worst enemy?
Themselves.
It's not women. The simp's worst enemy is himself.
Yes.
Okay. That keep that in mind as we go through this whole thing.
Yeah. So 3 weeks ago, I did a video. It was titled Us versus the World. And we kind of went through some of the foreign aspects of what was going on. It was kind of a geopolitics episode, but not really. You know, it had some of that, but we talked a little bit about China. We talked a little bit about Venezuela and Iran and even a little bit about Ukraine. It's just kind of like what's going on in the world. And at the end of it, I said, but really, the battle for the future of the world, for the next generational cycle, if you will, is right here in the United States. The United States is the only country that matters to finance, to militaries, to global trade. Like it's the only country that actually matters. And so every country wants to influence us to their benefit. And some are willing to go further than others to do that. And
yes. Okay. Now, people don't understand the depth of how true that is. China only achieved dominance in the commercial world because of the US. China has always been kind of internally focused. They cannot get past the first island chain. Basically, Japan, you got Taiwan out there, you got the Philippines. They couldn't go anywhere. They couldn't do diddly squat. They couldn't trade with the world until the U.S. Navy just cleaned up the entire world and everybody can trade with everybody. And yeah, okay, it took them a while to get started. But then, once they could trade with everybody, they did. And it basically made them an economic powerhouse, well, whatever they are today. There are problems there. But the U.S. enabled that to happen. Oh, the U.S. also enabled Europe to for the past 70, 80 years, get along with spending about 2%, 3% on military. They haven't spent much.
3%. You're being optimistic.
Yeah, I'm being generous here. So, I mean, the U.S. has enabled the entire world to live as they are. Yeah, there's been some skirmishes here and there. Yes, I'm not condoning the heavy-handed nature that the U.S. has done in, Vietnam, Afghanistan, Panama, Grenada, Iraq, Syria, Iran. Oh, and we diddled in a whole bunch of politics in other places. I'm not condoning any of that. But we were the big kid on the block. And that, even though millions of people died because of this, tens of millions did not die because the U.S. was kind of the big kid on the block.
And everyone likes to call the U.S. an empire, but we are the only empire in human history, if we were an empire ever, that paid its vassal states to exist. I personally am going to say that that's enough for me to declare that we have not been and never were an empire. We are not an empire now. In fact, the United States population, I don't have this up because I wasn't thinking, we were going to talk externally, but there's a pollster named Richard Barris, and he's on Twitter, and he says, like, he has all this polling data, and he says, like, the least popular thing that he can find is another foreign war. It's like 90+% of the US population doesn't want to conquer anybody. Empires don't operate like that, guys. The United States is not and never has been an empire. We could become one as a result of what's going on in the United States, but that will be a thing for the next cycle, for the next generational cycle. It could be the fifth turning is when we become the empire. But right now, we are not, and we never were. And
there's a simple distinguishing factor. When Rome was an empire, what did they do? They conquered and brought the wealth home to Rome.
Yes.
And look at the Soviet Union and their satellites. What did they do? Of all their satellites, which actually their satellites had a greater industrial capacity than the Soviet Union. What did they do with all that industrial capacity? They brought it home. Has the U.S. brought home the industrial capacity of the world to
China?
our doorstep? No, we paid for that. That was trade.
Yes.
We didn't use force to extract resources from others. Okay, we've used a bit of gunboat diplomacy in South America. Yeah, okay. I'm not condoning it. I'm not saying it's right. But for the most part, we've allowed countries to exist, and we've promoted trade, and we have not extracted tribute from other countries.
Steve, this is actually a great point to segue into the topic, because what you're saying is absolutely true. We allowed them to exist. We allowed them to keep their forms of government. We created a system by which they could trade peaceably with the whole world. The United States Navy was this world's global trade security blanket. You could put something on a ship and be very certain that, barring some sort of catastrophic mishap with the ship itself, like it broke or something, that your product would arrive halfway around the world. Okay. And for that, the world has repaid us by resource expropriation. Obviously, you guys have heard us talk about the remittance problem and how much money is sent out of the United States every year by remittances, or the more obvious stuff like China's never-ending set of operations that, you know, psychological and spy campaign. You know, the F-35 has been under. There was another one here recently. You know, came out. They found another spy stealing. I believe it was more F-35 secrets, Chinese, of course, through our university system, exactly as was predicted. Okay, so all these companies or all these countries have been allowed to exist. We gave them space, and what did they do for us not to take them over?
Stabbed us in the back.
Stabbed us in the back. Well, they
They took our job
stabbed us in the back. Well, they cleaned out our wallets.
and took our job.
What?
Dude,
You make it sound like they're a wife.
They are behaving a little like women, aren't they?
I couldn't resist.
Oh, Steve. So, and that really gets to the crux of why I said at the end of the last video, the battlefield is the United States. Every country is looking to expropriate, take, steal, thieve. You know, if you're a Somalian, you don't have the IQ of the Chinese, you just steal it via welfare fraud. But if you're the Chinese, they want different things. Now, China is the second, in terms of dollars, the second biggest destination for remittance money. So they also benefit from us that way. But they benefit by stealing our technology that we developed, particular military technology, but they'll steal anything they can get their hands on. So how did we get here? Why did we end up this way? Well,
I got a few things, but you can go ahead.
I want to hear Nick's his thoughts
okay.
here.
I do too, but before Nick goes, I want to say this. It's great to navel gaze at what caused the problem, but I get tired of navel gazing. So I'm not actually that interested in what did. Now, Nick, I do want to let you speak, but I don't think that's germane. That's going to be relevant to the crisis we face. Go ahead, Nick.
I'm going to put this in a more entertaining fashion.
Okay.
We got a bunch of dipshits who's got their, as Steve says, who have their heads up their ass and don't give a shit about their posterity. They want give me now. And our politicians, mind you, they don't give a crap really about the posterity and future of America. They can pass that on down the road. That's tomorrow's problem. And they don't have the balls to actually what would you call this? Force themselves upon these parasites and squeeze them for what they're worth. That's the other nations.
It's the system. It can't work any other way. We live in a democracy. We elect our leaders, representatives every 2 years, governors every 4 years, presidents every 4 years, senators every 6 years. Legacy and stewardship. I led a show on that. Legacy goes way beyond 4 years. Stewardship goes way beyond 4 years. Now, if a president is elected for 2 terms. That's 8 years. Still not long enough. Everybody is, and our stock market is based on quarterly dividends, quarterly performance. Everything is near term. There is no space in our world for legacy and stewardship, which requires long-term thinking. And yes, a bit of pain today for future benefit. Yep, we're going to have to do that. Oh, are the people going to grumble? Yep, they will. If you're married, you tell your wife, no, we can't do that. We're not spending that money. We have to buckle up, cinch up our belts. We have to eat mac and cheese because we are not going into debt. No, I need to make this investment. No, I need to do this. In 5 years, we'll be better off. In 10 years, we'll be better off. If we spend everything we make now, we'll never get ahead. It requires leadership and sacrifice in the near term and someone forcible on top making the decisions and saying, yeah, the buck stops with me. And I don't care if you grumble because I'm in this for the long haul. But our politicians aren't, and they can't be.
There's a point you make in here, Steve, that it's going to show up. I don't. There is. So again, I'm going to do the same style as I did last or 3 weeks ago with the other one, where I have a bunch of tweets, and no one really ties together the overarching lack of. It's partly accountability, but partly force, as Steve is saying, is the ability to command performance of the larger population. Because what has been allowed to happen to the United States was not unforeseen. There was great debate over the 1965 Hart-Celler Act, and many senators spoke up and said, hey, this is not going to be a good idea. It's going to and they even correctly called some of the future problems it would cause. They didn't know when, and they didn't know how bad it would get. And so people kind of shooed them aside and said, oh, well, you're
Hart-Celler Act. Was that the Immigration Act?
Yeah, 1965 Immigration Control Act.
Was Enoch Powell talking about similar things in the UK?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
My mind is going to the same place, Steve. There you go.
Well, and that gets to the point. It's not that the consequences were unforeseeable. It's that the consequences were too abstract and would be felt. I mean, the guys who voted for the 1965 Immigration Control Act, they're all dead. Okay. They were, there's this old saying, strong men plant seeds of trees whose shade they will never sit in. Well, that works both ways. Because if you're a weak man, you can look at something like the Hart-Celler Act and you can hear somebody like Enoch Powell say, hey, this is going to cause problems for you later. And you can say, it's not going to cause problems for me, though. I'll be dead when this happens.
People, make those decisions all the time.
Weak men.
Oh, man. Most men have to resist this. Oh, man, my wife wants this. I can just give in to her. Say, okay. And then maybe I'll get peace. No, long term, it's not a good idea. But I really don't want to fight this battle today. How about if I just go along, get peace today? Yep. Don't raise a ruckus today. I'm tired. I don't feel like I have the energy for this fight. Oh, there's going to be so much complaining and whining and I can't deal with that. Okay, yes, dear. That's kind of what our politicians said.
Yeah. Look, I'm tired too. This whole process, we were talking again beforehand, and as I've said before, I live behind enemy lines, and I live in one of those states that is desperately trying to destroy the right wing by any means necessary. Yeah, I'm tired. I'm in the fight and I'm tired. But unlike those weak men who gave us this situation, I don't have a choice. There's nothing coming after for me. For if I lose, it all falls apart. If I win, it still falls apart. It just falls apart in ways that you can reconstruct something that is beneficial to future generations whose shade I will never sit under. So you fight even when you're tired, because what other option is there? So there's a couple different things I want to focus on tonight. We are in a fight, and I want to make that clear, because I get the sense sometimes talking to people now. Yeah, Shu. New Jersey. Yeah. You're very close to one of the states that I'm referring to that is busy trying to expunge the right wing from any sort of political power, and that'd be Virginia. I've been watching the absolute tragedy that's been the start of that legislative session.
That was like the bastion of like traditional heritage America.
Yeah.
Crap.
Well, Robert E. Lee, born in where Nick?
I got to tell.
I don't know if he's born in Richmond, but
the New Jersey thing. I listened to a lot of stuff, and Martin Armstrong, the financial guy. I enjoy listening to him. I think he grew up in New Jersey. And he says, "Yeah, my uncle said, if you die in New Jersey, make sure somebody grabs you and drags you across the state line into New York before they declare you dead."
So, yeah, I'm tired, but I don't have a choice. And because I don't have a choice, and because we are not in a how do I put this? In a kinetic phase where where self-defense becomes a thing that you have to do. My job is, well, you guys know what I love doing around here. My job is observation and analysis. And sometimes that just means that I'm cribbing from the work of other people. So,
hey, this is not part of this, but I came up with a solution the other day. You know how in Alberta they're really pissed off at Canada and they want out?
Yeah.
They're talking about joining the US. The US is great. You know what? I think we should kill two birds with one stone. I think the US should trade with Canada. They can have Minnesota and we'll take Alberta.
Oh, speaking of Minnesota, Steve, how did you know where I was going? All right. So,
if it isn't like Happy's favorite state besides Wyoming.
So this is Mike Shelby. Mike Shelby was a U.S. Army guy. He was what's known as an S2. He was an intel guy. His entire life has been studying insurgencies, color revolutions, civil wars, how to start them, how to stop them. That was his entire professional military career. And this is a key point, and it gets back to something we've been saying for a long time. We are not now, and are not going to be in a civil war. As he says here, for the umpteenth time, we're facing a color revolution, not an insurgency. An insurgency would look a lot more like a civil war. You'd have one side battling against the government. Insurgency is a protracted violent conflict that lasts 10 years on average. Ain't nobody got time for that. The decisive phase of a color revolution is over in weeks to months. Now, he's referring to something else here. Oh, hey, Steve, your favorite city. Is Minneapolis an insurgency? By definition, no. An insurgency is an organized effort to seize or challenge political control of an area. That would be Minneapolis. In other words, to overthrow a government. In this case, the anti-ICE activists already have political control. In fact, they're on the same side as the state and local government. State government officials are the ones directing resistance operations. And there is hard evidence for this. I have a tweet here. It's actually a long series of tweets by a guy named Cam Higbee, also another Army military police and intel guy. And he broke into their the actual organization networks, and he blew it all apart. It was fascinating to watch. He probably set the insurgency, or the color revolution back by 6 months at least, doing what he did. So the key part here is state government officials are the ones directing resistance operations. Well, what are they resisting? Well, okay, nominally they're resisting ICE. Okay. But really, they're resisting the will of the electorate. Trump won, and all the polling says this. We even talked about this during the election season and during our election season videos. Trump won primarily on immigration. Mass deportations was like the highest polling thing he ever said. Okay. That's where Trump won. And so, yes, they're resisting Trump and the federal government, but they're also resisting the will of the majority. And that's a key point here. Smoking Patriot. Yes. Tim Pool's wrong a lot. Well-meaning enough guy, but wrong a lot. So if it's not an insurgency, what is it? It's another type of irregular warfare. And the entire foundation of UW is called unrestricted warfare. That is a Chinese tactical or strategic doctrine called organized resistance. The anti-ICE movement is not challenging political control of the area, but the federal authority there. There is no insurgency. There's an active organized resistance against federal authority, which is distinctly different. Organized resistance can be violent or nonviolent and is often both. The use of armed violence, or the resistance going kinetic, as some might say, would still not turn the resistance campaign into an insurgency. The difference is over the nature and end state of the conflict, not how it's conducted. To reiterate, the use of armed violence to repel federal authority would still be a resistance campaign, not an insurgency. Until the anti-ICE groups are trying to overthrow the local and or state government, please stop calling it an insurgency.
Okay, let me again do a red pill parallel. If you're in a normal marriage, your wife has a color revolution. She resists. It doesn't become an insurgency until she files for divorce.
And she might color her hair red and cut it short.
Yeah, and what is it? Is it, okay, Plutarch said it's a resistance to the will of the majority. No, well, yeah.
In this case, it is.
Yeah, kind of, but the majority elected a leader. They're not rejecting the will of the majority because they it was not a legitimate election. We are
right. Yes,
that's all propaganda. The tyrant. We are against the authority. So it's a rebellion to authority. I can do whatever I want. I can spend money however I want. I can squander money however I want. I don't need to get a job. I deserve. I am entitled. Who are you to tell me what to do? It's the same thing that women hear or men hear from women all the time. It's an act of rebellion. Yes, it's not an insurgency. It's a
Right.
resistance.
Correct. And that's a key point. It is, and that is going to guide a lot of what we talk about and how we think about it. And part of the reason that we think that we're not going to have a civil war is precisely because, as Steve noted, we've studied and discussed ad nauseum female dynamics. And we recognize the parallel here. And people say, "Oh, well, that's just you overfitting." Well, okay. Then to that I have to say, so why is it a bunch of women who are running this particular show?
On that, I got another argument. If it was a civil war, you would need masculine men on
Yes.
both sides.
Yes.
We don't have that.
Not even a little. And well, but Steve, that actually brings up an interesting point. And the right has joked about this before. It's one side has all the gats where the other side can't figure out which bathroom to use. To fight a civil war, you need two sides. And both sides need to be able to arm up and prosecute a no-holds-barred kinetic fight. Who on the left is going to prosecute a no-holds-barred kinetic fight with such horrible things as guns? Oh, the scary guns. Yeah. There's nobody to fight a civil war against. So that is, when you look at the totality of the situation, you've got women leading their resistance. They're using resistance language. They are telling you what they're trying to do. Okay. When your enemy tells you what they're going to do, believe them. So, okay. Now, okay, Nick, you're going to have to suffer through this next post because you're not going to like all the people involved in it. But historically, but it is a historical post, and it is a analysis of it's a Civil War analysis that written by another Army guy. It's actually pretty good. So to all my pro CSA guys, bear with. Grants. So this is written about what was going on in Minneapolis, but also in a broader context of the notion that the United States is a fragmenting nation. And I would actually agree that it is, just not in the traditional borders. We're going to end up with multiple sub-states out of it. It is a politically fragmenting nation, though. Ulysses Grant, ended the Civil War by solving a mobility problem. The Confederacy didn't survive because it was stronger per se. It survived because it could move faster than the Union could respond. And this has since been discovered to be true of almost every defensive action ever taken. The amount of movement that the Confederates had to do to defend their land was far shorter than the amount that the Union armies had to move to attack the same points. And there's a map at the bottom of this post that we'll get to that shows that. When pressure hit one front, Confederate forces shifted elsewhere. When the Union inevitably paused, the system reset. Simple manipulations of time kept the war alive. Grant ended that by acting everywhere at once. That lesson matters now. Modern agitators function in the same way. This is a key point here. They are networked, mobile, and adaptive. They can move city to city faster than fragmented authorities can respond. Local enforcement acts sequentially. The threat relocates and the conflict stretches on. This is how unrest becomes normalized, and we can't have that. The strategic insight is simple. Strategic whack-a-mole favors the agitator. Simultaneity matters because it removes a mobility as an advantage, prevents relocation instead of resolving the problem, shortens conflict instead of extending it, and reduces total violence by compressing time. This right here is a very underrated talking point and thought. There is only so much violence that can be had in a short period of time. Yeah,
Right.
I mean, it can be an absolutely insane amount of violence. Like if you guys have ever watched videos of an A-10 doing its gun runs, it is absolute bedlam for 5 seconds. Grant understood that fragmented responses multiply bloodshed by prolonging disorder. Coherent, lawful, simultaneous action ends cycles before they harden into identity and grievance. Nations don't always fragment because authority acts decisively. They fragment when threats are allowed to move freely, regroup, and return. Grant didn't win by chasing fires. He won by denying the ability to light new ones elsewhere. That principle isn't just about war. We aren't in one yet, he says. It's about time, coordination, and restraint. Simultaneity isn't unjustifiable escalation. It's how lawful or authority, yes, CSA guys, I know, prevents disorder from spreading, and how nations end internal crises before they harden into something worse. This is a lesson we need today. It's every bit as pertinent in 2026 as it was in 1864. And this is the map that he shows that points out how this was done. So you have Sigel, Meade, and Butler, and Meade and Butler are headed for Richmond. But at the same time, you have Sherman coming out of Chattanooga. At the same time, you have Banks cutting off Mobile, Alabama. Okay. These are, and this was only possible because for the first time in history, we could communicate instantly over long distances. That was the telegraph. During the war, Lincoln famously set up a telegraph room in the White House so that messages and orders could be dispatched. Literally, he would walk across the hall and orders could be dispatched. That was the key. That was one of the go ahead.
It's a simple. Okay, when I get a new idea like this, I try to put it into a conceptual form. I form a circle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the defender is in the middle of the circle, and he has to position his forces to wherever they come from.
Mm-hmm.
The guy on the outside who's attacking has to come from this side. Then he has to go all the way around, come to this side, go down this side. It takes time. The guy in the inside, the defender, the inside of the circle is smaller than the outside of the circle.
Yes.
So in order to collapse the circle, you need to go multiple places at the same time. Otherwise, he'll concentrate his forces, fight this battle, and then over here, and then down here. And logistics means, it's doable, but not once. I mean, the inside of the circle is smaller than the outside of the circle. Therefore, there are more resources outside the circle, so you have to bring them to bear on multiple points.
Correct.
On the plan. There you go.
Yes.
And this has nothing to do with who's right and who's wrong.
Correct.
Right.
In fact,
It is what it is.
Yeah. And in fact, guys, you can apply this exact same concept to Ukraine. Why is Ukraine able to successfully stop the Russian army? They actually started a counteroffensive in Zaporizhia yesterday. That is yielding results. Why are they able to do that despite having an army 1/3 the size or less of the Russian army? because if you look at the distance between Dnipro, which is the main collection distribution point for arms headed to the front, Dnipro to Zaporizhzhia is 50 kilometers or 100 kilometers. It's somewhere, it's less than 100 kilometers. The Ukrainians have to do almost nothing to get supplies to that front, where the Russians have to take it from, well, Tula, the city of Tula, up by Moscow is where all of their ammunition is made. If you guys know, can I say that on YouTube? Talk about ammo companies. There's a well-known ammo manufacturer for a certain type of popular Russian platform in the United States that is literally Tula ammo. That's their name, and that ammo is like that's where Russian ammo is built at Tula, and Barnaul is the other city. They have to ship it 1,500 kilometers to the front. Okay, so
Yeah.
that's why. Go ahead.
There are no other options in Russia. Everything, all the rail lines go into and out of the Moscow area. It's
Correct,
a radial system. It's not a distributed system. The U.S. rail network is distributed. It goes east-west, it's chopped up and kind of in a grid. It's not that way in Russia.
Hey, Steve, you want to see exactly what you're saying on map form?
Sure.
This is the rail network. This is the Union Rail Network. And see how, I mean, obviously it's not a perfect grid. Geography is what it is. But look at this. You've got this line headed over here toward Louisville. You've got this line headed up to Indianapolis. You've got another line headed from Springfield, Fort Wayne, Pittsburgh. The Union Army was able to move supplies, even though they had to move a longer distance. They had capacity that now it ended in Memphis. Then they had to float it down a river. But once they got control of the Mississippi River, the war was over. It was just a matter of time, because floating things is not as fast, but it's very, very efficient. It's cheap. And so
they lost at Fredericksburg and Vicksburg the next day.
Yeah, exactly. It
was over. It was over.
Right. So
and if you look at the rail lines in the South, it's a little bit grid, but it's kind of radial.
Well,
you cannot move southeast to northwest without. You can't. Right. There are no diagonal lines there. Really,
it was Gettysburg. That was wrong battle. It was Gettysburg, then Vicksburg. Yeah, wrong battle in my head. Yeah.
So, Steve, you're talking about radial. Charleston. Charleston was the big port for the South. And look at that. Their rail lines are radial out from Charleston. In fact, part of the reason they lost Richmond is because there was no direct line between Charleston and Richmond. So
and they decided to hold Richmond, Virginia at all costs because that was a god.
Yes.
Yeah.
The CSA made some massive strategic blunders. But their rail network, the rail networks were mostly inherited at the start of the war. So yeah, they did build more. Both sides did. But even look at Atlanta. Atlanta did not have a great rail network coming out of it. Where if I put something on a train in Philadelphia, which is where steel is, Pittsburgh has a big army plant there. There's a straight shot between the two. I can have my steel for gun barrels in Pittsburgh the next day. How do you do that down here?
Oh, their supplies were to shit.
Right.
That was another reason why they should have never prolonged the war. They should have done what Stonewall said: just invaded and done as much bloody and brutal battle as possible, and let it be over with.
Well, okay, Nick, you're actually making a great point that goes back to this one here. An insurgency is a protracted, violent conflict. The decisive phase of a color revolution is over in weeks to months. because if it's not over in weeks to months, the power that they're resisting overwhelms them. It can take out their networks. It's the exact same problem that the CSA had. Once the authority and force figures have time and space to react to you and start to do an envelopment strategy like was done here, it's over. There is no winning after that. So a color revolution has to go quick. So now I know we're an hour in and we're still kind of setting things up, but this is to give you guys a kind of a view of what's going on here inside the United States and background as to why everyone is so interested in fighting on the United States, because they have to encircle us, and and it has to be over in a certain amount of time, or they run out of resources to prosecute the war. So I'm going to flip here. Is this where I want to start? Okay, yeah, we'll start here. So we're going to talk immigration for a little bit, because this is an aspect that it doesn't get much airplay because it's kind of wonky and people have to sit. Okay, Andrew, I see your question here. What if the color revolution is essentially over? According to the people running it, it's not. They were actually planning on running the color revolution in 2028. They were forced, or they felt like they were forced into action in Minneapolis because of the Somalia stuff really exposed their funding networks and how they, and so it became a, well, we have to do something, and they were gearing up for a color revolution, and so that's what they were ready to fight, and that's what they were supplied. That's what their supply chains were getting ready for. It was too soon, and they were forced to divulge some of their tactics and strategies in the process of doing that, and that will not. It's not a good thing that they felt that they were forced to do it, but it was either that or they lose their funding networks. They lose their supply chains, and that it would be a disaster for a 2028 color revolution. So it's kind of like they were forced into it, which is good for our side. But
yeah, well, just look at the way these enforcement actions have gone. National Guard troops were deployed in various cities, and then we kind of stopped that. Then we had the thing in Minneapolis, and then okay, that's dying down. And then they focus federal troops elsewhere. And you could say this is an action by the federal government to enforce things. So I think what Plutarch has revealed here, in order to be successful, you need to do multiple things at the same time. Remember, we had the, what was it? When Trump first came into office, you had, they went after U.S. aid. The
and Doge and all that stuff.
Doge.
Yeah, Doge. Yeah.
Hey, there was a one front roar. We're going against Doge. We're going against U.S. aid. Okay, that event was done. Then it moves on to something else. If you really want to prevail, Trump should start up a dozen initiatives all at once, nationwide. Just overwhelm all the opposition and take the territory, win once and for all. But so far, it's been piecemeal.
That piecemealness works in the favor of the color revolutionists, it's going to be yellow and black were the colors they decided on, by the way. That's why all the no kings signs are yellow and black.
But while they're doing that, the opposition is revealing their supply lines.
Yeah, that they didn't want to. Obviously, you never want to. But they weren't really given a choice, because if you start cutting off welfare to the Somalis, and you go in and you start investigating the other stuff that was going on, well, that's a huge part of their funding networks, specifically. Not necessarily so much physical supplies, but funding matters, because funding it's instantly mobile in our internet society. You can, these revolutionaries can literally take money from Minneapolis, and the next day it's in an account in, I'll just pick on Portland, Oregon, because it's always exploding.
So, do you think that the fraud in Minnesota is larger than the fraud in Oregon, Washington, or California?
No. It's
small. I guess we know what's coming next. We're gonna win this war.
The left coast is going to have a really fun 2026 summer. That's going to be fun. So
the federal government fought a battle in Minnesota. The supply lines were revealed, the funding sources and all that. They gathered some information. It was Minnesota in December, January. It's not going to get out of hand. It's too damn cold. And now they have information. So when they bring the battle to the next area, now they know what's going on. I mean, from that standpoint, you don't necessarily want to win the battle or win the entire war initially, because you don't have enough information.
Right.
So basically, so who's holding frame right now? This is frame control.
I'm going to say this, and it's going to piss a bunch of people off. The revolutionaries have the frame right now.
That's correct.
Because
they don't have the power, but they have the frame, which is hilarious.
Well, okay, let's tie this back to Red Pill. How many men in relationships with women do we know who are betas, they're plow horses? Who's holding the frame in that relationship?
Wifey poo.
Right. The revolutionary, the resistor, can absolutely be the one holding frame here.
Now, who actually has the power?
Oh, power. The federal government's got power in spades.
No, in the husband-wife situation, she has a frame. Who actually has the power?
Well, the guy has the power of force. He just has no will to exercise it.
He has no knowledge that he has the power or how to use it.
Yes.
He is clueless. She has a frame, but the man always has the power. If he just knew how to use it in a moral, proper way. Chances are he'll get so frustrated, he will use it in an immoral way.
Yes. And this gets to one of the core problems that we are experiencing on the right now in prosecuting this war on our own soil. Strategic whack-a-mole favors the agitator. And I am going to keep repeating that. Okay? Because it is a fundamental truth of any asymmetric warfare. And by the way, if you guys pay any attention to your resistor wives and women out there, you'll find that it's always whack-a-mole. Oh, well, but you said this 10 years ago. Oh, well, what about this that you said to my girlfriend? Nick.
It's like every argument I ever had till like 4 a.m.
Right. The actual answer is overwhelming force on all fronts against your woman. Andrew.
Once you whack that mole, is that
You gotta go
mole, that
Franco
same
on it.
damn mole, gonna poke his head up again? Nick?
No.
The same argument gonna come up again
No.
2 months later?
Well,
If
eventually
you
you'll hear it
effectively
again.
destroy it, you probably won't.
So, Andrew, he says the enemy already holds a lot of power and influence inside our command structure, in our side's command structure. Yeah, this is absolutely true. And this is, to give Trump some credit, he is doing a frustratingly slow job of purging it. Hegseth has done a much better job on the military side than Trump has done on the civilian side. And the civilian side is in my opinion, much deeper corruption and rot there. So, but see, the problem is that Trump isn't thinking like this. I'm pretty sure, and you guys can disagree with me in the chat and you on the panel can disagree. I'm pretty sure Trump has no idea he's fighting a war. And one of the things that Infantry Dort here is saying is you are fighting a war and you have to think strategically. But if you don't realize that you're fighting a war, your default mode will be whack-a-mole. Just like if you don't realize that you are fighting a war with your wife for frame and dominance, you will default to playing whack-a-mole with whatever the latest thing is. It's the parallels here are just, they would be funny if they weren't so frustrating. And in my experience, the relationship really fell apart with my ex when I realized that I was fighting a war and stopped playing whack-a-mole. That's when she got really angry and decided that made the decision to leave, is when I switched tactics. And here's the thing. If Trump were to switch tactics and actually realize he's fighting a war, the enemy would be out in force, crying about how horrible it is that he's doing all these things all over all at once. And look at just the smorgasbord of cultural pornography here for you guys to look at and imbibe, of Trump cracking all the heads of these poor protesters. And I have a thing on the whole poor protester thing for later in the show.
You gotta keep in mind, this is not the only thing Trump is worried about. There's a global financial change happening. He's done a lot to remove the financial power that the City of London. They pulled a lot of strings. He's kind of, whether you believe it or not, there's a theory out there that markets have still predominantly been controlled by the City of London. Okay, so he's fighting that. Our independence. Okay, LIBOR was London interbank offer rate. That set our mortgages in the mortgage rate in this country, not the Fed funds. And now it's SOFR. So now we took control of our interest rates because it's set in the US. The silver market. Yeah, okay, China might be manipulating it. Yeah, okay, they're doing their thing. They're playing their hand. But the global silver prices were really set in London. So there's a
Hey,
lot
Steve.
of things happening.
Hey,
I mean,
Steve.
Trump is focused elsewhere as well.
He
Yep, go
he
ahead.
is, and that's the problem. He's playing whack-a-mole when he needs to understand two things. If I could talk to Trump for 5 minutes, I'd tell him two things. First, you are fighting an all-out war for this country inside this country. And the second thing I would tell him is all, and I mean all of these foreign whack-a-moles that you're being forced to deal with will become trivial if you win the war for the United States first.
Exactly. Now, what's the latest whack-a-mole? Iran.
Iran, yeah.
Does
Again,
Yes,
what
again.
happens with Iran, does it affect me in the least? Not really. Is it going to affect me in 5 years? Probably not. Do we need to go to war there? I would argue no, but it's a great distraction. I mean, how many billions of dollars are we spending just to show force? And our demands of Iran are just absurd. If I was Iran, no way would I agree to that. I put myself in their shoes. You can disagree. I don't care.
I have the utmost empathy for the people of Iran who, by and large, do not want to be subject to that regime. I understand that. But frankly, the United States simply does not have the bandwidth to deal with that right now. And
if you
that's go ahead.
If you were Iran, knowing that Israel doesn't like you much, would you be willing to give up all ballistic missiles with a range longer than 300 kilometers?
Not willingly.
In exchange for what? A promise? Does Israel keep promises? Does the U.S. keep promises? Can you trust that someone will force them to keep their promises?
Yeah. Again,
so asking for that is absurd.
Again, I don't want to go too far down the geopolitical.
No, I don't either.
Holes,
but this is a big distraction.
Oh yeah, for Trump, it's a huge distraction. And honestly, there's a part of me that does think that that's kind of the point of it. Because here's the thing: the people acting inside the United States understand this simple. I'm going to zoom in even further, as big as I can make it. The people acting inside the United States understand this simple insight as if it's part of their own DNA. This whack-a-mole is the water that they swim in. Okay? It is the air they breathe. And so Data Republican has a ton of posts on this. I was not able to pull all of them because then the show would run for hours, and we don't want to turn this into a hostage situation. But there is very definitely outside coordination of what's going on here. It's trackable coordination inside the United States. We've said that before. We will say it again. There is hard evidence to that fact. So it is to the benefit of the rest of the world that we be distracted by what's going on in the rest of the world for the sole purpose of them being able to destabilize and extract resources from the United States. That is why if I had 5 minutes with Trump, I would tell him those two things. You are in an all-out war for the heartland of this country, for the very soul of what this country is. And all of this foreign stuff is distracting you from winning that war, because the moment you win the war for the country, dealing with those problems becomes trivial. The finance problems, trivial. The Iranian problem, trivial. The Ukrainian problem, trivial. The Chinese problem, because in order to win the war, you have to kick the Chinese out. And once the Chinese no longer have influence inside the United States, militarily bottling them up is it would take a complete shutdown of their economy would cost about $20 billion, which is a rounding error of the Pentagon budget. Okay.
So, what is the biggest threat, subversive war, agitative thing that's going on inside our country that we need to solve?
Can't really hear you, Steve. You're too far forward.
What's the biggest thing that we're dealing with that Trump is ignoring that absolutely needs to be solved in the U.S. and everything else would go away?
Well,
all the foreigners.
No.
Although that would help. I was going to say Marxist revolutionaries, but
more basic than that. What's the biggest war going on within our borders?
The women.
The war between men and women.
There you go.
Yep.
Okay, women don't want the men. Men don't want the women. They're not getting together. Valentine spending was down. The bridal industry dropped. Our birth rate dropped. The churches are being emptied out because the men aren't there. Everything is falling apart because men and women are just at odds. They're not getting together. Now you get the men and women together. You form families. And we talk about this. But you get a man and a woman under his leadership, subservient to him, you form a cohesive force. And now he can call the shots and say, okay, these foreigners, got to get them out of here because they're hurting my family. They're endangering my family. They're cutting down my job opportunities. Get them out of here. She says, okay.
It's absolutely true, Steve.
So you got to solve that problem. And I'm sorry, you're going to have to hurt the women's feelings first. Yeah, okay. We're going to apply real equality.
Steve, Trump's
It's
just
not going to happen, but
Trump isn't that guy, though, because we as a country have not recognized that we need to resolve this issue more than anything else. And Trump is a 1990s Democrat who installs women in, I mean, okay, DHS, Kristi Noem, Carolyn Levitt,
Bondi.
Pam, oh God. Talk about an absolute disaster of a choice, Pam Bondi. I mean, and okay, he put a woman in charge of one of the biggest, deepest, vilest snake pits in all of DC, and she's getting eaten alive.
Are you saying Pam Bondi has no balls?
I am saying that in part because it is both literally and figuratively true. So Trump's not the guy. And everyone, I see a bunch of people saying, oh, well, you've got to support Trump right now because he's the guy. No, he is not the guy that's going to solve these problems. He is too easily distracted. He thinks that women are the future and that we need to keep raising up women. Like, he's doing the opposite of what we need done to really resolve what's going on inside the country. And even if he did the things that Steve is talking about, you have generations of women who will fight against him because they've been so thoroughly brainwashed that they literally cannot think
in 10 years. in 10 years, if you want a competent workforce of men, first of all, it's got to start with the engineers. We need more engineers. If we're going to bring manufacturing back here, we need the engineers. You know, those dweebs who were kind of the guys who work for NASA, sent us to the moon. You know, the guys wearing white shirts and pocket protectors.
I was just going to say pocket protectors. Crude.
With 7 pens in there. You know, the undesirable men that the women don't care about. Yeah, those are the guys we need. How do we get them? First of all, you gotta get men into education to teach these young men. You gotta stop the pussyfooting around and the education department and the DEI and all the crap going on in our schools. You gotta go back to teaching these guys phonics so they know how to read. Phonics, not say. Then you got to go back to regular math. You got to teach them that. They got to learn their multiplication tables. None of this drawing pictures and getting to the answer 3 pages later with this modern math bullshit. It's too inefficient. So, in order to get engineers, you got to reform the education system. Then we can go to reform our
Steve, I've got a faster answer.
Great. I'm all in favor.
There are 7 million STEM graduates right now, people who've already qualified, who had jobs in STEM careers. These men are pre-qualified. They've proven they can do it. 7 million of them who are no longer working in engineering because it is not financially viable.
It's more than 6 million.
Nick. Steve won't get the joke, Nick. It's a South Park reference.
Yeah.
But my point here is we could start that process tomorrow, but you have to do something first, Steve. Because what do women want from men?
Money?
Yes, I was going to say resources, but potato. Okay. What is the fastest way to get American engineers making more money? Deport the H-1Bs and tax and do tariff import taxation on corporations who offshore their work. I can solve the problem with about 6 months of legislature, and you will get a flood back to the United States of engineering dollars. And that will, and then all of a sudden,
maybe. I think you need to do one other thing.
Okay.
You have to make the women need the men. So you have to reduce social services to a subsistence level.
Yes.
And you have to reduce child support and spousal maintenance to a subsistence level to make the women need the men. So now you're doing 2 things. The women need the men, and the men have the opportunity to make the money to provide for the women. It's a win-win.
Yeah, and this can all be done relatively quickly if one has the political will to do it. We don't have the political will to do it right now, so it's not going to get done. That's kind of what we're saying. You can mostly solve the woman problem by first going after Social Security, and at the same time you go after immigration and all of that. Okay. There, we now, once you've kind of solved that, all this foreign stuff becomes relatively simple to do. And there's a reason for that. But it's not even that simple. So we've been talking about immigration a little bit. And I have up on my screen here now, this is a tweet. Benjamin Weingarten sent the tweet, but it's Joshua Steinman. just so you know, Joshua Steinman was the national security was on the Trump 45 National Security Council. This dude knows things that most people, that even people who know things will never know. Okay. Joshua Steinman has submitted a national security-related amicus brief in the pending birthright citizenship case before SCOTUS. The reason I wanted to bring this up is because this is something that people are not talking about on the immigration side, but is actually of existential importance to the United States, even more than kicking out the H-1Bs. I would say this is more important because this, I was talking earlier about how the Chinese want to steal all of our tech. Now he's describing the pipeline. What?
This is how they do it.
Yeah. Now we're going to describe how it was done. Oh, but it gets worse. It gets worse because there's a long-term play here too. So he says this is a critical angle that has gone largely ignored in the discussion of the case. He writes in part, with a round-trip plane ticket, a malign actor, China, can send an expecting mother to the United States, receive mother and baby on return, indoctrinate and train the child, and then send that individual back to the United States to engage in espionage activity. That mechanism, for instance, stymies all major advances in digital surveillance and biometric technologies that make it harder for undercover agents to remain anonymous and operate in the target country under a false identity. Thus, with an extremely modest financial investment and the passage of time, a foreign adversary can use geographically derived birthright citizenship to create a nearly undetectable human intelligence asset with no bonds of affection for his country of birth and carte blanche access to the United States. As the example of Russia's illegals program shows, malign foreign actors are perfectly willing to make such long-term plays. Now, the Russians were not able to survive long enough to take advantage of the illegals program, but they certainly did it. And China is absolutely doing it right now. And what did Trump say? Oh, well, we need to double the number of Chinese people we bring into the country, and we need to staple a green card. No, you do not fucking want to do that. That will kill this country.
Plutarch, what was a Potemkin village?
So the Russians built these villages, quote unquote, along the border with North Korea that are basically just the front facade of a building, and they put the facade facing south, and thus it looked to the south, or this was the thought, it looked to the south like North Korea was this rich, a successful state that it was winning everything.
Didn't Russia? Oh, no, not Russia. I got to be careful. The Soviet Union, didn't they select bright young people, construct a town or village that looked exactly like the U.S. or what they thought the U.S. was?
Yes.
Put them in there, immerse them in English, and try and assimilate them to act American, to the point where they could then send them into the U.S. to blend in. Of course, they would have to use false information. The Chinese are doing kind of the same thing, only this is a birth citizen from the U.S., U.S. passport, doesn't even have to speak great English. They can come over here. They can say, well, yes, I was born here, but I spent my time in China. I came here when I was, came here when I was 20, and they'll be accepted. They don't even need to blend in superficially. Legally, they are U.S. They are a U.S. citizen. So It's a different approach to the same goal.
Correct. One of the famous, they were called closed cities in Russia, and one of the famous ones, I believe, was, sorry, Elena, I'm going to butcher this, Nizhny Novgorod. It sits due east of Moscow by like 200 or 300 kilometers. And when we first got access to it, the outside world, the Americans who showed up there reported feeling they were they're almost dizzy with how accurate the replica was, and the people in the town spoke English with a slight British lilt, I think, was what it ended up being. But like, so yes, the Nizhny Novgorod was not the only closed city they had, but it was the big one. And that was where a lot of the training for this illegals program happened. And the training was brutal. Like there's stories of if you messed up once, you would get taken into the cellars and beaten. You messed up like 3 times, you were just disappeared. Like it never to be heard from again. Like they took this stuff seriously. So this birthright citizenship is a massive security hole. And it is part of why the Chinese are able to do what they are doing today. All of the Chinese buying all that land around U.S. military bases, who do you think's doing that? Oh, Chinese birth citizens. Nothing that they're doing is illegal under any of our laws. They're just Chinese. They're just Chinese, ethnic Chinese who were born in the United States. All right, I'm going to go on to my next one. So if you guys remember, shortly after the Venezuela thing, I said that you were likely to see evidence of election fraud running through Venezuela, and that this was likely to come out. Well, sure enough. So this is JT Alexander. Non-deployment. He's another former intel guy. If he's talking, so this is about they found the ballots. They got access to the ballots for the 2020 election in Georgia, the disputed one. And he says, if Gabbard is on the scene now, Gabbard is she is the national security advisor. She runs all the foreign intelligence. She runs the entire foreign intelligence apparatus of the United States. If Gabbard is on the scene, it means that the FBI has found a foreign counterintelligence nexus to the investigation into the 2020 election in Georgia. Otherwise, they'd be reporting to Bondi and the DOJ. This is an absolutely 100% correct take. Gabbard was very likely able to discern the relevant gist from the documents recovered because she already knew what they contained before she ever arrived. Let me explain a bit further. To get a search warrant, a federal magistrate, one with no ties to Trump, and in fact, a resume filled with legal aid and public defense, found probable cause that the evidence of a crime existed in the narrow scope of what was being requested via a search warrant. Considering how not narrow of a scope that warrant actually turned out to be, and Gabbard's involvement, we can deduce several things. First, that there is already a substantial case that some serious crime occurred and that this is not anywhere near the first evidence they've collected. Getting such a warrant from such a magistrate would be essentially impossible otherwise. We can't even get a similarly situated magistrate to provide the pro forma signature on a complaint related to this tweet was shortly after Don Lemon did his stupidity with the church. Committing several felonies on public video with numerous admissions and confessions. Let's not pretend here. Second, that the foreign nexus has probably already been getting plugged away at with the foreign-oriented intelligence apparatus for some time. It is probable, I'd hazard to guess, that a FISA warrant or two have been employed. Gabbard already knew exactly what they were looking for, and she wanted to be on scene for its recovery. Too long didn't read. Somebody, somewhere, someday is completely fucked. So this is, and this is another guy that you know, guys probably know, DC Drano. There's only one reason for DNI, Director of National Intelligence, would be at the Fulton County Election Center after it was raided by the FBI. Foreign interference occurred in our elections. It's no coincidence this raid happened after the capture of Maduro, just like I said. So there is foreign election interference. Now, why did I put this together with the China birthright citizenship thing? Because every single one of these birthright round trip plane ticket citizens gets to play in our elections. China is building an electorate in the United States. Okay? And
It's a massive problem.
It is. And let me see. There's, I might have not pulled up the tweet. Somebody pointed out that most of our elections swing on districts with, you have, if you get the 50 to 100,000 Chinese in the right district, that could be a state where, you know, the vote swings by 50 to 100,000 votes. You own the election. China owns the election because they have these individuals who have been indoctrinated and trained since childhood that will do everything that they're told from China, and they'll just have them there waiting. I want you guys to think about that. Immigration is the future of this country. Getting the immigration thing solved is everything. The reason why China went to Venezuela to do what they did with the voting stuff is because that immigration stuff takes 20 years. And if you need results now, you've got to do something else. And this fits with the doctrine of unrestricted warfare. You use any and all tools that you have access to. The Chinese don't have access to overwhelming military force. It just wouldn't work against us. We've covered that before. But what they do have access to is lots and lots of people and a better understanding of our laws than we have. And they exploited a weakness.
Hold on. You're laying out a circumstantial case that it's the Chinese. I do agree that there is a foreign actor involved manipulating Venezuela. I think there are other suspects here.
Steve?
Yeah.
Okay. But from the perspective of a United States person looking out, it doesn't matter.
No, that's why I'm not. You and I, you know where I could go with this. We
yes.
Down, drag out. Okay, but yeah, it doesn't matter.
And so, yes, I know I'm making a circumstantial case. When you're dealing with foreign espionage activities, that's the very best you're ever going to get, guys. And so what I'm saying is we need to act. We're going to act on circumstantial evidence, but we need to act on it. We need to recognize that all of this foreign interference is having direct impacts on our lives in this. When they bring the fight here, Iran?
Here's how I look at it.
Go ahead.
Is there one puppet master? No. There are two or three. You don't even have to know who they are. Okay, we'll say China is one puppet master. They're pulling strings. Are these strings they're pulling over here? Is it China string? I don't know. They're definitely pulling strings this, so we got to handle this thing. Someone's pulling strings over here. We got to handle that. It could be China, it could be someone else, but you can identify the forces and manipulations going against you. We've already identified shit was coming from Venezuela. We handled that. Maduro is now under our protection or custody, depending on how you want to view that situation. He's telling secrets. He's cooperating. I'll guarantee you, we are finding out a lot of shit, and we're dealing with that. So now here's some other things we have to deal with. It doesn't matter who ultimately is pulling the strings. And there are other things that are happening to us. It doesn't matter who's pulling the strings. We got to get them in-house and got to take care of them.
Exactly. And that's a lot of hard work. And there are people who are better at the work than we are. It's a very, observation analysis is a very different skill than a detective, believe it or not. And so we need detectives. We need people who are willing to stare at spreadsheets till they go cross-eyed and to figure out what's going on. And you've heard me talk about Data Republican before, and I'll keep talking about her because she's actually really good at this, autistically good at it. Okay, this is the one I want. Going back to the color revolution stuff. International actors are involved in the State Department led color revolution. This is not speculation, it's straight from a recorded call. Ex-USAID employees describe how before January 20, they moved internal groups off government systems and into encrypted signal chats, then quickly linked with foreign partners and NGOs after the inauguration. This attempt at creating a color revolution isn't news. This part was already in Notice NOTUS earlier this year. But what's not reported is the international aspect. One participant explicitly frames it as a global anti-authoritarian movement, connecting U.S. officials with colleagues from around the world who have dealt with this directly. They reference coordination with Johns Hopkins, International Democracy and Conflict Mitigation Spaces, so don't step on each other, and efforts to mobilize across borders against what they perceive as domestic authoritarianism. And then she's, this is a video, which I will not play, of the call. And see, you guys can't see it. It's the person talking through the slide here has pronouns. Okay, so that's your, I can't really make it any bigger. But this is what these, I think what I'm trying to drive home here really is just how frighteningly well organized these people are. Okay. The right wing has no idea what it's up against. And we thought we were electing a strong man to bash some systems down and replace it. No. That's not what we were doing. That's not what we needed to do. You need to elect someone who is not a loudmouth. We need quiet competence. We need somebody who will very quietly start knifing apparatchiks, to use the Russian word, in the back, and just quietly removing them, who really understands how to wield government power. Okay. Because that's what these people are wielding against us. And Trump, love him, he's a wrecking ball because he doesn't know, and he has inadvertently exposed a lot. but now we need somebody who knows exactly what the execution of government power looks like as these people see it. Because that's the only person who's going to be able to see this coming. Okay? Stop.
Yeah. It's multifaceted. Can't focus all in one direction. For instance, I got to pull Nick in here. Nick, do you think it would be a good idea to pass a law that dual citizens could not hold public office in the U.S.?
That's common sense. Yes, it's common sense because I'm sorry, we have a lot of dual citizens in our government right now that run stuff, and yeah, quite frankly, there's another country there that starts with an I that gets a lot of benefit
Wait a minute.
by a lot of these dual citizens.
Was Epstein working for the Chinese?
So actually, so Steve, on that, if you dig into the documents, he was working for basically anybody working against the United States.
Okay.
I'll
agree with that.
He had contacts with he actually had lots of high level contacts in China. Yes, we all know the great state of I. He had tons of contacts over there. He had fantastic contacts out of Britain, but also Russia. In fact, a lot of the girls came from a specific modeling agency in the Krasnodar region. Like, so
would Bill Gates agree with that one?
I do believe Bill Gates would agree with that one. Yes. So the guy just had connections everywhere.
And you know what? He also had connections with Bannon, Steve Bannon. Yeah. So half of MAGA was anti-Trump. Oh man, this is just hilarious.
It's not been a good past few weeks since all that stuff came out for a whole lot of people. Those of us, but the interesting thing is those of us who do not partake of such things and we're calling for this stuff to come out are kind of like, I've seen a lot of memes, particularly on the right, everyone's on the left was like, but don't you know, or there were people on the right, particularly the MAGA clapping seals, but don't you know this will damage Republicans too? And then there was the Chad guy who was just like, your terms are acceptable. And that's kind of how I feel about it is okay. Are the Republicans just as wrapped up in this shit? Yes, of course they are. Purge them too. Purge them all. Okay.
You can have the strong man. You gotta be the Franco type person. Just go after everything all at once and don't give a shit about the consequence.
That's where I was going to. Things are so bad. At some point, a tyrant takes over, a dictator takes over and says, enough of this shit. And he just comes in and cleans house. Yes, he's heavy-handed. And you know what? The people say, yes, please. And it goes too far. Okay, but when things are too far to be corrected any other way, that's what happens because the people demand it.
Steve, on that, I'm seeing a lot of I can't use that term. I had a really gross term to use. A lot of the pro-Trump clapping seals and MAGA, the people who just Trump can literally do no wrong, have been saying, oh, well, but if you don't vote for if you don't vote for Republicans, don't you understand? We'll have to listen to impeachment proceedings for the next 2 years. And it was Mark Mitchell, another pollster. I follow him and Richard Barris a lot. who said, I don't think you understand. The voters don't give a shit which political side you're on. They want action. They'll vote for whoever they think will give them motion forward on what they want. And that was Trump, but Trump hasn't given them the results they want. So next man up. And if that happens to be a Democrat, so be it. Broader speaking, neither the left nor the right really understand that there is a new party forming in the United States, and it is one that is focused almost entirely on action, on getting things done. So, Nick, you're talking about Franco? Yeah, that's coming.
Yep.
And it's not going to happen overnight. This is more
Boomers
of
have
a
to go away. They can't stomach it.
Right.
They're gonna have to go away, fade out, which they're already doing.
Exactly. It doesn't happen overnight, but in 2032, you could see a brand new, I'll use Elon Musk's term for it, America party that is all about just getting shit done. And so it'll get shit done inside the United States because that's what they care about first. And that is why they want Trump focused so much on foreign, because they know that the moment that the United States unfucks itself, that the United States will start to be able to turn its all-seeing eye out, and that sort of Franco-like party turning its eye outwards to the world can do an enormous amount of damage to their political project of gay race communism in a very short period of time.
Hey, we've done it before.
Yes, sir.
When America, the U.S., gets focused on one thing, we get all moving in that direction, we're going to accomplish it. World War II.
Yep.
Once we got focused and motivated and moving in that direction, there was no stopping us. And so whatever happens, and yes, this strong leader, let me paraphrase for our audience. We are not advocating for this. No need to. We are just predicting that this will happen. Our advocating this would just be silly and of no use. And I'm really not necessarily looking forward to it. It's just, I see this as inevitably what's going to happen.
That's if the left doesn't win.
Correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then it just kicks a can down the road. The left wins. Then we go into another 10, 15 years of just complete shit. Kick the can down the road, piss people off even more. And then eventually the strong man will come to power.
You know, Steve, thinking about this, I think if the left wins, you get the Troubles. I think you get an actual insurgency.
Probably.
But the Troubles was not a civil war. Again, I don't see a civil war in our future. The Troubles is an option. The color revolution is another option. But I don't really see civil war brewing. So I've got another one, and we haven't done too much on the church side yet, but I do have one from Data Republican that I want to pull up because, Andrew, your comment here, all churches, including NAPARCs, are on the anti-authoritarian color revolution side. Andrew, I have a tweet for you. And so I'm going to add this to the stage here. Throw this up there. So this is somebody asking if this is true. I'm not going to read it because YouTube won't like me if I do. It involves certain unmentionable topics. But this involves a person of a certain orientation at a church. And this person was initially allowed to wear this outfit to work, provided that they used a back door and stayed out of sight. However, the employer later tightened the dress code. So Data Republican comes out of left field with this, but I loved it. This is the third instance of weird intersection between leftist activism and mainline Protestant churches. That new creation Lutheran church in Shakopee, probably not saying that.
Shakopee.
Okay, Steve. Okay.
It's a Minnesota city.
It's a Minnesota thing.
Go figure.
Was named in one of the signal docs as coordinating food deliveries for the activists. I had a horrifying thought. What if these churches launder donations as living expenses for their own activist attendees? Good God, did we not say that is what was going to be happening a few weeks ago or a couple months ago when we were talking about this?
Huh? Yeah.
Yeah.
Data Republican, you're probably onto something, and I encourage you to check to investigate this further, because well, what did we say? We said I can't remember which episode it was, but we said be careful who you donate your money to, even your own church, because they could very well be laundering your donation for the expenses of the activists in your own church.
Well, it's well known that two entities in Minnesota and North Dakota that have been receiving government funds for handling of immigrant refugees are Lutheran Social Services, Catholic Social Services.
Yep.
Yeah, well, here we see the word Lutheran. Yeah, could it be happening? Probably. Okay. The most horrendous Catholic mass I went to, this is like 25 years ago, because I had to witness it, was St. Joan of Arc Catholic Church. And do you know how Catholics have rules for the mass? You have the wafers. And Catholics believe that this really is transubstantiated into the actual body of Christ. So you pretend, or you don't pretend, you actually believe that you need to take care with this thing. Well, at St. Joan of Arc's Church, they brought in a loaf of bread, and during the consecration, the priest rips it apart, and you could see breadcrumbs flying everywhere. I mean, it's the most gay approving church in Minneapolis. I mean, just
Grandmother would have a
everywhere.
conniption fit.
I mean, well, when they celebrate the Eucharist, it goes poof.
Blasphemy.
But so I don't have any proof that Catholic churches are doing this, but
Oh my.
I'm not going to bet against it. Some of them. Now, I mean, the Catholic Church is divided, just like the Lutheran Church is divided, just like the Presbyterian Church is divided. You have the people who are faithful and want to preserve tradition, and you got the wackies.
The waggies.
Hey, Nick.
Yeah.
I've got one final thing for you on this one. Ready for it?
Sure. Yep.
Remember when I said, I was like, I know an Orthodox church that openly flies the pride flag?
Is that one it?
No, this one isn't it. This isn't me. This is actually on the outside of that church. But my point is here, these churches openly fly the pride flag. There are churches that do it. And there is no sect or denomination that is free from this.
Synagogue of Satan.
That's another thing, Nick. Don't mix it around. We have more
Don't
than
what?
one enemy. Don't confuse your enemies. Don't commingle your enemies, although they might be cooperating.
They have the
Can't
same
rule that out
general.
either. So, guys,
Mm.
you know, and Andrew said it in his comment here. You know, nearly all churches, including NAPARCs, are on the anti-authoritarian color revolution. What did Data Republican just say here? Oh, look, she has hard evidence that the churches are all in on the anti-authoritarian color revolution. So, Andrew, that is my hat tip to you for the evening. So I stored this thread. This thread is long. We're not going to go through all of it. This is Cam Higbee infiltrating the Signal group for or all the various. He got all of them that were in operation during the resistance movement in Minneapolis. It is no accident that Governor Walz folded a week after this was revealed, because one of the things that came out of his work here was that the lieutenant governor herself was coordinating operations inside here. She was the one who got them access to the police license reader database, the license plate readers. It was Cam Higbee and O'Keefe, I can't remember his first name, were both there, and they were shocked at how quickly they were identified, and they would switch cars and they would be identified again very quickly. Well, it turns out that the people that these resistance groups had direct access to police databases. Like, they had, my understanding, and I could be wrong, don't quote me on this, is they had they could literally call a person in their chat, which is everyone's anonymous in these things, and you can kind of see what it looks like, right? He's scrolling through the names. I mean, there's no real names in here. But they knew that there were people that they could call in these chats to get information, which was organized by the lieutenant governor and facilitated by office staff at the various police stations to get access to these databases. And somehow they got access to the rental car records. It used to be that you could expect some sort of anonymity by riding around in a rental car, and that was what O'Keefe was doing. And same with Cam Higbee. They were both in rental cars. It's like, well, how can you know who I am? I'm in a rental car. They had access to the actual rental and rental car agreements and license documents, driver's license documents. Somehow, they suspect that they just got them from low-paid employees at those companies who agree with them. And they were used to hunt down Cam and O'Keefe. So as I said, this thread is very long. If you guys want to really dive into the nuts and bolts of what these organization systems look like, here's a good example. They use emojis to say, I'm this person, I'm doing this thing. Mobile patrol, stationary patrol, foot patrol, dispatch, license plate checker. That's an interesting one. How do you have somebody who does that? And then here's a link to the ICE license plate checker. So there you go. And these are people who will give you information on who to contact for checking license plates. I mean, I can go on and on with this thread. We don't need to.
We also know that through your cell phone, your location can be identified.
Steve, gotta Can't hear you.
So we also know through your cell phone, your location can be identified. You call 911,
Yes.
they will know
Yes.
who you are and where you are located within, I don't know, a meter or 2 meters. They triangulate. They know that. And then if they rescue people and they report on that, okay, you carry your cell phone around. If you're O'Keefe or Higby, if someone on the inside knows who you are and your phone number, which is, they all know that, they can track you that way too. I'm not saying that happens. I'm saying that it's possible.
Well, okay, Steve. We don't have any evidence that they were doing that for this one.
Exactly. I'm not saying they did.
I want to say something here. Remember what I said earlier. This whole Minneapolis operation was rushed. They were not ready for it. Okay. What that means is that not all of their systems were in place yet. They had the core systems, the core communication systems, etc. But compromising somebody with enough access at a major phone company is probably going to be a little more involved than giving the lot attendant at a rental car agency $100, right?
But if you have someone on the inside in law enforcement who is doing the license plate checking, they might also have access to these other databases. I know for damn sure, my first divorce, they were tracking lots of stuff that they shouldn't have known about me.
Yeah.
Hacked into my email, and I know my attorney, or my ex's attorney, had a brother who was in the FBI. His father was former military intelligence. There was dirty shit going on there. Can I prove it? No. You can think, oh, I'm just a paranoid conspiracy theorist. But I'm telling you, things were going on that defied. It was just not possible.
Well, even if they had access to it, so on the license plate stuff, that's all those programs are usually run and controlled locally. When and there's no warrant required for them because license plates are considered public information. Your car sits outside. I can take a picture of its license plate and look it up. Phone numbers, if you were to log into the portal at, say, Verizon, and you want to do a location track, you need your badge number and your warrant and your warrant docket number. Okay, so it's a little harder to get into those systems. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, I agree. I think there's back doors into everything. Given a sophisticated enough operation,
Yes,
anything is possible.
Yes, but
I am not saying it happened here. I'm just saying in a very sophisticated color revolution, things will happen that are illegal that you can't prove.
Correct. I think this one was too soon. They didn't have that set up because in order to get untraceable access to that database, you need to compromise somebody at the telephone company. And that access is
too cold.
What?
Too soon and too cold.
Yeah, exactly. They were working with what they had, not what they wanted. Yes, they would prefer to have direct tracking access to somebody like Cam Higby, but they were able to figure it out well enough with what they had. And later on in this thread, he actually talks about Steve, kind of like what you were saying. It's like, how are they tracking me? Like he's like, they don't have my phone information because they clearly didn't. Otherwise, they
Okay.
wouldn't have been able to let. Otherwise, they wouldn't have let him into the Signal chats. Signal requires a phone number, so they didn't
Okay.
have that information, but they had a lot of other stuff, and they were able to track him very well. And so, I think that they are hoping to compromise, but they're hoping to compromise the major telecom providers, but they haven't been able to do so yet. And I think that's where we sit. Now, they are absolutely organized at that level, as you know, as demonstrated here. They jump on Zoom calls and lay out exactly the timeline, of how they're going to do it. These people are very, very organized. It's just I don't think they need to do a lot of things, and some of them are harder to do than others. So I think that's where they are right now. Oh, but I want to make another point. This isn't just Minneapolis. You know, we were talking about this earlier. It is national. This guy, I can't see his name because I'm zoomed in too far here. Yeah, there we go. Oh, well, probably can't say that name either. This guy broke into another group called Rapid Response operating out of Seattle. And here he's got the same thing. Here's their map of the various regions that they're operating under. It's not as big as the Minneapolis one was by any stretch, but getting there. And Data Republican chimes in with, you will find this spans the whole country to some extent. Not always down to the neighborhood level like this. This is very organized. Now, as we all know, Seattle, Portland, and California, you know, the big city, these people are getting a lot of help from the local officials. So they get to be this organized relatively easily. But there is rapid response infrastructure everywhere, and they're often financed by taxpayers. Oh, shoot, you're from New Jersey. Well, here's the hotline to call. Here's the state hotline for New Jersey. Here's the Newark hotline for New Jersey. Nevada, Action Network. Here's their phone number. Oregon. Okay, yeah, here we go. Portland and its surrounding areas. There's its number. Salem. Salem is such a lefty shithole. There's their number.
Philadelphia, look at that.
Philadelphia, yep. Raid Response now. That's an interesting name. New Sanctuary Movement of Philadelphia Faith Center. Some not. Go ahead, Nick.
Faith community.
Or faith community.
Like a church.
It's a church.
Like a parent church or something like that.
It'll be some non-denom bullshit, but the church is using their church resources. This is their phone number, or this one if you speak Indonesian. And this is just Data Republican doing an extract of what she's got. But, you know, yeah, there you go, Shu. There's your New Jersey Rapid Response Hotline. It's a freaking 1-8. Okay, guys, I want to point something out here. Most people don't realize this, but 1-800 and 1-844 are toll-free numbers, which means that you, as the person who is running the number and owns the number, are paying for that number. These numbers cost not insignificant amounts of money every month.
Hey, what do you got in Texas?
Yeah.
This she only gave an extract of the thing.
Okay.
I'm sure there is one in. I'm sure there's one in Austin,
San Antonio, and Austin.
Probably Houston too.
Yeah.
Probably. There's probably also one in Dallas. Fort Worth, I don't know, but probably one in Dallas. In fact, I'm sure there's one in Dallas, because Dallas is a huge hub for Indian illegals. So, Okay, New York, New Jersey. Here's another 1-800 number. These are organizations, not just poor protester individuals who, they're just doing this all on their own. This Action Network in Reno, Nevada. Fucking Reno, Nevada. Nevada. Okay. Just this is a red part of the country. Action N Network. Info at .org. You have to have to get a .org email or URL. You have to file your 501c3 documents with the registrar. Okay. This is not cheap to get. These domains are expensive. There's $500-$600 a year. Oh, look, 888. Here's another toll-free number. Portland. Of course, Portland's running toll-free numbers. Okay. This is the level of organization and sophistication that you are up against. And they are everywhere. You've got Oregon sitting next to Pennsylvania, sitting next to North Carolina, sitting next to Nevada. I just crossed the country 3 times to say those 4 states. Okay. That's what you're dealing with. And it's financed by you. This is my last tweet before we move on to closing thoughts, closing arguments, etc. This is another infantry dork post. He's a pretty good follow if you guys aren't. Since everyone is getting so flummoxed about why so few believe what they do, I've done a little homework. This is the revolutionary participation of a population over the last 250 years. American Revolution, 3 to 5%. French Revolution, 1 to 2%. Haitian Revolution, 5 to 10%. Mexican Independence, 2 to 4%. Russian Revolution, also known as Red October or the rise of the Marxist-Leninists, 0.5% to 1%. Chinese Communist Revolt, 1 to 3%. Spanish Civil War, 3 to 6%. This is Franco, by the way. Cuban Revolution, 1%. Iranian Revolution, 1979 version, 2 to 4%. As you can see, the majority of a population is held prisoner by normalcy. The belief that tomorrow will look like today if they just keep their heads down. Understand where you're at. The majority of a country is always sheep. So when people get frustrated about a lack of hardline commitment from people, it's the rule, not the exception. It's not good or bad, it just is. But it will become bad real quick if the communists win. Right now, some of them are ready to die for what they believe in. People follow that kind of energy, no matter how misguided it is. Are you prepared to die to prevent it? Quite difficult to ponder, isn't it? If you're losing sleep over the question, then good. You should. And I agree with him on this. You have to remember that this country, after 250 years, is still just an experiment. Are you prepared to tweak the variables to keep it going? Is tweaking even necessary? What does it look like? Can it be done legally? Are we destined for imperialism? The world wonders, and so do I. But the final victory always belongs to God. We are going to win. And I thought that was a pretty good place to end kind of at least the look at where we are. I have some thoughts that I want to get to, about, what can we do? But the final victory always belongs to God. And revolutions are not fought by the majority. The people, the color revolutionists know this. They're counting on it. So what are we going to do? That's my question to the panel. What are we going to do?
I just brought up something. Here's what I'm thinking about.
Can't hear you again, Steve.
Here's what I'm thinking about. The whole Minneapolis thing. The masculine men were not out protesting. They're not part of the color revolution. They're just sitting back, watching, waiting. We have a lot of former military who they got those long range hole punchers. They didn't go out and protest. They're saying, oh, these toxic masculinity. Yeah, those guys are not creating a problem. The red pill, supposedly the red pill guys who are radicalized are not causing a problem. They're sitting back and doing nothing. All these groups that Plutarch just talked about, who are forming cells and signal groups and reporting in this, not those guys. It's women and soy boys. Okay. What happens when the masculine men say, I've had enough of this? And, the government, the feds or whoever tries to impose order, but it's not enough. Things get out of hand and they kind of say, okay, we need some help. We're not looking around for whoever's helping us. We're going to be blind to that. I don't know. I think the U.S. might be in a different situation than these other countries who experienced revolutions.
If we do not crush the left, there will be no need for an alert. There will be no need for a crisis. It will just change. They will win. And they will shove the legislation and whatever it is down our throats because they never really cared about it anyways. And they will succeed.
Their success is only temporary, Nick.
Well,
Yeah, kingdoms of this earth are only temporary. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. To my mind, the question is, their success is temporary, but temporary can mean a lot of things. Just ask the Chinese, or the Russians. It took the Russians 90 or 80 years to throw off.
That's what I mean. It's still temporary. Oh, it's longer than my lifetime. Absolutely.
Well, and
this
that
will change.
And that's why I was saying, I recognize that I must plant the seeds of trees that I will never sit, in whose shade I will never sit, because I can't win all the battles that we have to fight. There's just too much that's broken.
Oh,
And so I look at it and I go, I have to fight for the things that matter, the things that will get us through to the other side. And
Plutarch,
okay.
think of the boomers.
No.
I mean, my God, I have all this money. I'm living in my house now. We can't have this now. I have to wait because I don't want to sell my house for another 2 years. And I need property values to stay up. I need the stock market to stay up so I can cash out and I can have a good retirement. So don't let it happen until I'm ready and I can preserve my wealth so I can live a contented, blessed existence until I die.
Okay, absolutely retarded thinking, because if you quote unquote preserve your wealth into the teeth of a violent color revolution, you'll be the first against the wall so that they can expropriate your wealth. Congratulations, you will have won 10 cents in the lottery, and then you'll win 50 cents of lead. So
Let's pretend that's not going to happen.
Oh. They're pretending it wasn't going to happen the whole time.
Nick. Okay, Smoking Patriot, you have a good comment here, and I want to pull this one up. I don't think you'll see many organized against it till their jobs and livelihood are threatened or gone.
Yep.
I think they are too busy thinking we gotta work, gotta have a job. Smoking Patriot, I'm gonna be kind of honest, just kind of brutally honest here. I catch myself thinking that way quite a bit. I do have a job. I need to keep it. In part because I recognize that no one is coming to save me. I can't go to the welfare office and claim all the diversity, because I've got none of it. As you guys, well, as Steve and Nick know, I am just another white dude. Okay, I've got nothing. And the problem is they know that too. They have built a system where I have no choice but to do this, or I die, literally, of starvation or exposure to the elements, one of the two. And this is something that's been vexing me since I started thinking about this all the way back at Christmas, when I had some time to really think. And I was thinking, okay, well, how could the right organize? Because I mean, we can see just how organized these people are. They have top to bottom organization. They have left to right. They are both vertically and horizontally integrated. Like, and they have resources that beggar belief. They have state level resources behind them. How on God's green earth do you organize against that? And I started thinking, okay, well, if we're going to solve this problem, we have to start creating a list of what the right does control. What resources does the right have? And I started thinking about it. Oh, well, we control industries like water and sewer and electricity and HVAC and plumbing and automotive and just name all the trades, right? But the problem is that let's take plumbing, for example. Let's say you were to build up a nationwide network of plumbers. Okay. Great. You now have a nationwide network of people who are too weak individually in their regions to react to anything. It's great if you want them to observe and report, but they can't do anything. And because they're so geographically dispersed, they have no way to communicate with each other. I mean, these people focus. I mean, and you saw how they did it. That's part of why I wanted to show what I showed tonight with Cam and the Seattle guy. Is these people have tight, large scale organizations in local regions that support each other. I missed one. Darn it, I missed one. It was a Data Republican one. Is it this one? No, it was this one. Okay. Be an anti-ICE activist. Get your rent paid and all your needs met. Rent assistance and look at these ppna.org, skywithoutlimits.org, thecentralneighborhood.com, a commercial company of some form. Okay. I don't know what this find help thing is. Cheap air filter. That's an interesting one. That is air filters for masks, for gas masks. The Twin Cities Mutual Aid Project. Like, these guys have lists of where you can go to get anything you need while you're being an activist. Rental assistance. That's like, I'm going to be here for weeks and months, possibly even years. I'm going to sign contracts, and these people will help. And this group of links will help you do that.
Scroll
Leon,
down.
she got this from one of Cam Higby's recordings, and she made a copy of it. Like, you can, there's the link. You can go click on it. I'm not going to, but.
That's a lot of money. I mean, rent assistance, you're talking $1,000 a month, give or take. 1,500, might be 800. It's no lower than 800. It might be as high as 2,000. That's a lot of money. Multiply that times 1,000, 2,000. So what's that? 1,000 times 1,000 is 1,000,000. Somebody is funding this at the very least $1,000,000 a month just for rent. But then you have all these people on the payroll. You're talking, this operation probably is costing $20-30 million per month. And I'm still probably low here.
Probably.
We're talking big money here. That's
huge
funding
money.
The anti-federal side of the protest in Minneapolis. It's big, big money.
So, Smoking Patriot has a follow-up comment, and I think he's right. Yeah, because he says they have funding too. Not sending their money to a certain location in the East. Yes, we know what you're referring to. These groups are funded by people that are willing to back their beliefs and desires with cold, hard cash. That, to me, is the key. The right is so dispersed and so fragmented that and so desperate to not be seen as one of those people that we're going to give up. Yes, Nick, I know. But
someone here doesn't care.
You know, it just, there's no organization on the right. There's no funding on the right. You know, somebody tweeted at Elon, you know, look, dude, you've got all the money we need to solve this problem and make it go away. You could just start doing what Soros did. And he ignored it. It was a very, very highly liked tweet. It was like the top tweet of the whole thing. And he just ignored it. Now, that could mean that he just doesn't want to get caught saying, oh, yeah, I'll do the same thing Soros will. Although what Soros is doing is perfectly legal. You know, but the moneyed interest on the right, the people who might actually benefit from doing this, and I'm not even necessarily including Elon here, but, you know, there's lots of money on the right, but the left is willing to put the money where their morality is. The right is kind of just like, you know, honestly, I'm coming to this realization over the past few months that, you know, we like to talk about the left as these rich ne'er-do-wells who, you know, they just want to, take money and yeah, but they want to take money to redistribute it. Like these people at the top of these, yeah, they have lots of money. They don't mind sending millions out the door for to support one of their ideological causes. But getting a moneyed person on the right to separate with one fucking measly dollar to support what they ostensibly believe in.
Well, I know that one place they'll send money.
Well, yes, Nick. But yeah, there are certain.
Steve knows that place too.
There's an approved list of places they can send their money, but like if you
probably
want to,
dispensationalists.
Are you talking about those poor oppressed people who everybody hates?
What?
Yes, he is.
The poor oppressed people that everybody hates, so we have to support them.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not even, to my mind, that isn't even the biggest thing. It's that they won't send money at all. We are talking about needing essentially a counter-revolutionary force. If we use the Russian Revolution as an example, you had the Reds, the Bolsheviks, everyone knows those, but no one really knows that there was a whole other faction called the Whites. White Russians. My voice is going out on me. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
And
they didn't have the money
funding
support behind them.
They didn't have exactly.
They had the Whites had more numbers than the
correct.
Reds.
They did. Steve, that's why I brought this up, is because the parallels here, the communists on the left know exactly what they're doing to us right now because they've done it before in Russia.
So for those who don't understand, the White Russians were pretty much loyal to the Tsar.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thirsty.
They were the Cossacks. They were good people, and they were the Christians, actually, the Orthodox Christians.
Correct. Yes.
The Reds were the communists. They were the atheists.
Mm-hmm.
They were not loyal to the Tsar, and in fact, the Tsar was pretty lenient. I mean, he tried to do things, but there was the first chance or attempt at a revolution. Was it 1905?
Yes, it was 05 or 06. I can't remember exactly, but it was
somewhere around there. And there were a lot of subversive newspapers that existed in Russia leading up to the revolution. And there was a lot of money that came from foreign entities, like Jacob Schiff from Cone Loeb on Wall Street, and Trotsky.
The Jacobins also out of France.
Yeah,
put a lot
and
of money
Trotsky
into
went up to what, Hamilton, or no, someplace in Canada. And he was arrested there, but then on orders of the U.S. president, he was let go in Canada and went over to, took a ship over to Russia. And what was it? Lenin had a private train that went up through Europe to Russia, and it was a protected train. There were powers and money behind the Bolsheviks. And those guys were Bolsheviks. The first guys who took control in Russia were the Mensheviks. But the Bolsheviks were even more anti-Tsar than the Mensheviks. They took control. The U.S. refused to give any aid to the White Russians, and the rest is history. What do I have wrong, Plutarch?
Nothing.
Okay, thanks.
No, that is the broad history of how the Bolshevik Revolution went down. That's how, you know, Red October is kind of the famous culminating event of that. Red October is when the Bolsheviks routed the Cossacks, and I need you guys to understand something. In Russia, the Cossacks are famous for their ability to fight. The Cossacks were used by Stalin in the police organizations, the internal policing organizations. That is how well funded and organized the Bolsheviks were. They were able to take down trained, organized, well, you know, well equipped, even to not towards the end, but you know, but
Professional,
professional,
dedicated fighters,
yes,
bred for generations, formidable men.
yes,
The Cossacks were not cream puffs.
no, to the point that Stalin preferred them for the most demanding of state policing and military jobs. After the
And they were basically a group of Russian peasants, rural people. I don't know. Were Cossacks? Are they Rus? Are they ethnically Russian, or were they
No.
a subset of
they're a subset,
different ethnic group? Okay.
Yeah.
It's like oh, the Vatican. Who's the army or the Swiss Guard? Oh, gee, they're people from Switzerland. They're not Italians. You can't be Italian and be a part of the Swiss Guard. It's like in the U.S. Special Forces. Oh, where are our Cossacks? Yeah, they're the Southern boys.
Yep.
Special Forces. Yeah, it's mostly those Southern boys. Right, Nick?
Really, they ran into an issue over the last presidency.
So I actually looked it up. The Cossacks are from the Pontic Caspian steppe region of Ukraine. They actually have quite a bit of Polish and Germanic blood in them. So they are not a Rus. They have lots of Rus in them because of but they are a mix. They're really called Eastern Slavic, so that's going to be that sort of Austria, Polish, and then down into the Baltics. You know, your Hungarian type stuff. That's really more where they're from.
Damn, they were the Southern boys of the Russian Confederation.
They were, yes. Okay, Andrew asks, how did the Bolsheviks obtain their funding? Their superior funding? The same way that Soros and foreign entities are superiorly funding the color revolutionists in the United States right now. It's outside state level funding is pretty much.
I think it's the opposite. I think the question is asked wrong. The funding created the Bolsheviks. The Bolsheviks did not seek the funding.
There might be some historical accuracy to that. I would have to go. I have people who studied this particular section of history with extreme interest, and they might.
Well, I'm not saying that definitively. I'm just turning the question on its head.
Yeah.
Saying, yeah, which came first, the cart or the horse, or the chicken or the egg? Well, I guess you better study that.
Yeah. But so Andrew and Smoking Patriot and to any of our other listeners out there, these are questions that I think about them, and I would like other men to start thinking about them. We need to figure out this organization problem if we want to have a prayer of defeating this color revolution that's coming for us. And I'm not even sure the technology exists to do it. Like, and I can't say anything more about that without getting myself on a list. So, so the organization problem, the funding problem, I don't know what to do about this, guys. Red folks, us red Republican conservative folks, we tend to work jobs where there's not a lot left over at the end of the month. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but we need the money on our side we need them to wake up and start spending money, because I can guarantee you that the very first two people that will be put up against the wall when the communists win are the Koch brothers. And then Elon Musk will be followed very shortly thereafter. These guys, and so we need these guys to recognize that if they don't start putting money into us, their people, they're dead. They will die by 50 cents of lead, because when the left wins, that's what they do. What do you want to know what the Bolsheviks did after they won? They dragged the Tsar out and shot him. And then they did the rest with the boyars. And then they did the same thing with the boyars. And the boyars were an oligarchic class that were Russian history does diverge a little from what we have here, but not much. The oligarchs of this country, particularly the oligarchs like Elon and the Koch brothers and the other moneyed interests, they get shot. I'm sorry, that's just what happens. I'm sorry, YouTube, but that's what's going to happen to them. And the Bolsheviks aren't coming for me first. They're coming for you first. So when are you going to stop counting your dollars and start counting your life and your children's lives? Because after they do Elon, his children are next. The Bolsheviks did the same thing. The Bolsheviks understood that the only way that they could secure their future was to exterminate entire bloodlines. Okay? Your bloodlines are at stake here if they win. And I'm talking to the money on the conservative side. You will die if you don't start putting money towards organizing and preparing to counter the revolution. And we don't have a lot of time to do this. And if we don't do something, the left wins by default. Well, okay, Smoking Patriot. He says, well, the right has been infiltrated for a long time. No desire to truly unite because that would require standards. Society's been drifting left the past several decades. You're absolutely right. And maybe the first thing we need to do is organize, yes, but maybe we need to start purging our ranks. And I'm seeing some of that start to happen and already. So I know
the wall. If they kiss the wall, you already know you can't trust them.
Well, I'm looking at other groups closer to home. I'm not going to name any names because, again, I don't want to end up on any lists. But it's been fascinating to watch how Scott Pressler, I think that's his name, he has been pushing the Save America Act. And he basically came out and said that if you don't vote for this, we're going to primary you. That he's going to work to primary them in the next election. And it's slow moving. And I don't know if it'll happen fast enough. But that idea of there are certain things for which you will be purged from power if you do not do is exactly the right attitude that we need to take. Okay? We can use the Save America Act as kind of a litmus test. Okay, if you're not willing to bring, and we can do this again and again with different things. We can do the same thing on immigration. There's an act that was filed by Greg Stube out of Florida to basically deletes the H-1B. you can use that as a litmus test. Oh, you don't support that? Well, too bad. We're going to primary you. And once
It's not going to happen, Plutarch.
I know nothing ever happens until it does, but
You know what? Oh, no. Nothing. People don't change. A person doesn't change
I
until
know.
he hits rock bottom, and it's too painful not to change.
Well, see
Right
that's
now,
the
it's
that's
not
the thing.
painful enough. We
That's the
are
thing.
not faced with the crisis and forced to change. Therefore,
I agree.
no one's going to make the hard decision.
I agree, which is why I think Mr. Pressler's tactic of saying I will work, I will. You have to understand, Mr. Pressler controls a lot of votes, a ton of votes. He basically owns Philadelphia, because of all the work he did back in 2023 and 4 to get Trump elected. So, but what you say? So yes, we can make it hurt for them. But we need to start. We need to start. I hate to say this because it always ends poorly. You need to start creating lists of who's been naughty and who's been nice. And what Scott's doing is kind of that. He's creating a list of senators who have been naughty, who have not been well behaved. I think Senator John Thune is at the top of his list because of the guy's refusal to bring the Save America Act for a vote. Now, and Scott's a very peaceful guy. In fact, he ends most of his posts with peacefully. And I completely agree with that. And I love the way he's doing it. Okay, Andrew. Yeah, okay. But you're right. But that's actually kind of, that matters a lot, quite a bit, that he was able to do that at all. Considering what Bucks County was. So again, I'm not saying that it's going to happen fast enough, but if the right doesn't start putting its money where its ideals are, it's going to have neither. Because, I mean, what's the other reason to shoot all the money conservatives? You get to take all their money when you're done. If that's why you kill the kids. You have to kill their children too, because then the money just is sitting there. And in probate, if there's no estate and there's no one to take over the estate, it goes to the state. The state gets it. These guys know all this because the system has been set up this way for decades. So again, I don't know what exactly how we're going to solve this problem, but I do know that if we sit by and do nothing, the left wins by default. And then we get to live under gay race communism for 80 to 100 years. And I'm just not sure I'm willing to go there. So, yeah, that's what I want. That's what I want to leave you guys with, our audience, our listeners. It's questions for, maybe you guys have ideas for how to kickstart the organization engine. Maybe you have ideas.
Meeting.
What?
We're already meeting. We're already meeting, just very informally. We've already drawn sides. We've already know who's in our group. Problem is meeting up locally, regionally.
Right.
But the problem is also nobody wants to strongly affiliate because they send the FBI after you.
Nick, what you're saying is there are like-minded men out there in groups. And there are parallel things that they value. And so those groups meet about other things. And yeah, okay, there's side topics. But there is no formal.
No, if you do anything,
There's nothing
formal
about the groups, and there is no reason to make it formal.
Well, there were some groups that were formal, but the FBI went after them.
Right. So now there are no more
power. They can make excuses. Yeah. Oh, the left has been doing this with the government to divide and conquer any semblance of building anything on the right that's not
Mhm.
just slow degeneration of so-called conservatism.
Well, and that's why I was saying that we need to get our money in action, because the left was able to do that through application of large amounts of money. They bought low level elections, that particularly for DAs and prosecutors. That was a huge win for them, because now they could pick and choose. They could make sure that they prosecuted the right to the fullest extent of the law. And oh well, but these were just well-meaning leftist protesters who they had no idea. We need to give them leniency.
So we need to bring this in for a close, but I want to point something out here. We started out talking about Minneapolis. We know it's the affluent, white, urban,
Affluent, white, female,
white,
urban, liberal.
female, urban, liberal, can't understand normal thinking people.
Love it. You've been working on that
But-
one, Steve.
I figured that out a week ago. Take the first letters and you'll figure it out. You can tell your buddies and they'll just laugh their asses off. Anyway, they seem to be our opponents, but they are not smart enough to be putting this whole structure together. Guys,
No,
it's
they did not.
feminism that is the ultimate puppet master pulling the strings. The females, the libtard females, those insidious women that we can't stand, they are merely foot soldiers. They're duped into doing what they're doing. They're not pulling the strings. They're not setting any strategy. Generally, and I could be proven wrong someday, but in general, women make poor strategists. Think about it.
Nick, you got anything?
What I needed to say. I'm good.
All right. So, yeah, I wanted to draw people to the idea that we are the battlefield. We are the quote unquote World War II. The United States is it. There isn't going to be a big global war out there. There might be small stuff here and there, but there won't be one of those. And that we're up against it, because the rest of the world has figured out that in order to get what they want, we, the Americans in general, and the conservatives in specific, are standing in their way. And therefore, that means that they need to remove us. And they cannot remove us from where they are, so they have to remove us from where we are. They have to disenfranchise us. They have to demoralize us, both morality and morale. They have to fund our opponents. They have to break our women, which they have done. Social media, TikTok, TikTok being overtly funded by China, social media being funded by even American leftists who fully buy into the leftist communist agenda, has broken our women. And our side is so concerned about counting their giant piles of money that they're not going to understand that it's like they don't even understand that when the revolution comes for them, and it will come for them, that their money won't buy them protection. We were joking earlier about the boomers, great. You save, you protect all your wealth and you get it all out of the markets. And then a week later, the revolution starts and you get lined up against the wall and dispatched. Like, congratulations, you won 10 cents in the lottery. The communists still took all your shit. We're, and then, but really, I would love for men to start thinking about how do we work around the fact that our opponents are this well-funded and organized. The funding, we have to go to where the money is, and there's not a whole lot of places where you can find it. The organization, technically harder, but that you can kind of reach out to other men. And I don't know what to do with that. Because, everyone's like, oh, well, what are you organizing? Well, here's what I want. I want my ideal vision of an organization network is I want to be able to be informed when the communists are planning on doing something. Doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to be able to do anything about it, but just mapping their actions, knowing and being able to start looking for patterns in their actions gives you predictive power. And then in that same organization network, you can start to say, okay, guys, we need to be here doing this while they are there doing that. Organization is going to be key to defeating this. And we are way behind the curve. So, guys, that's all I have for this evening. Yes, Andrew, they did break our women with first wave feminism. They've continually broken our women, and it's cost us a lot. And it's been, I think the women have been the Trojan horse, so to speak. They broke our own women and turned them against us. And through that, they were able to do so much more. So there you go. Wow, we're 3 hours into this. I didn't think it would be quite that long, although I did think it would be a long one. If you guys have questions, comments, disagreements, obviously you can leave them in the comment section of YouTube if you're willing to. You can also DM on Twitter. You have Nick and I's handles. And if you like the video, you don't have to like it. You can if you want to. But please share this video with other men. Other conservatives need to hear this, particularly. We need to start thinking about these things as only men can. Is organized groups of men working towards a common goal. And we'll see you next week. Don't know who's up or who's got what. There's other things going on that we need to attend to that I've heard some ideas bounced around in the chat. So
maybe we should just review Cappy's book.
You want to do that next week?
Nick's read it.
Good work.
All right, we can do that
halfway through.
Okay.
Okay, so let's make it official. We are going to review Cappy's book. Oh, that would be Aaron Clary.
Can't say
Just
that title
reading
on YouTube.
backwards.
No, it's correct.
Okay. Yeah, I don't much like the title, but the book is basic truth about the way the world is going. I can't say I'm learning anything reading the book because I already know that stuff. But for the average guy, yeah, and we're going to go through it. We're going to critique it. I'm sure Nick has some critique and comments, so maybe we might even read a few minor excerpts from it.
Sure.
And we're not being paid to do this, by the way.
Nope. No money has changed hands. So next week, review of Cappy's new book. Just came out on February 2nd, I think. That's when it came out. All right. Well, with that, that's it for this evening. We will see you gentlemen next week. Bye.
There was a firefight! Fucking